Hello, beautiful people. Hope you all are doing very well. Welcome to another episode on the Ticket to Freedom Academy podcast. I'm your host, Sylvie Tamanda, and today I've got Cathy with us. Cathy is going to be talking about her journey to freedom. And I want you to sit back, relax, become educated, become empowered, and become inspired. Hey, Cathy.
Hi, Sue. Hi.
How are you doing
How are you?
today? I'm fine. I'm very well, sis. And you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Super.
So,
So,
thank.
a brief intro about yourself.
Thank you for having me. So, my name is Cathy, and I'm a I'm a teacher. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a DBA to be database administrator to be. So, yeah. And in the course of this interview, you get to know more about me and my journey in life so far, and the things that I've done, I've achieved, I've failed, all of those things, challenges and everything. So yeah, um, I'm open for more questions. Thank you.
Awesome.
Oh,
Thank you, sis. Congratulations on your DBA journey. I can't wait. I hear that there's a lot of money in tech, and I'm so
thank you
proud of
very
all the
much.
women who are getting into tech.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I hear that there's a lot of money in it.
yeah,
Who knows? I'm going to branch
yeah.
out to tech
Women, yeah, right.
because I'm always
You
chasing the
should
money.
try. You should try. It's open for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, I'm always chasing the money. I'm always chasing the cash. Yes, so
Oh, I know, right?
really
I
today,
know.
today I wanted us to discuss about, you know, ticket to freedom. Personally, I believe that freedom is your ability for a woman is when she has her own money and her ability to make decisions for herself without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling constrained, and without feeling like she has to do things in a particular way in order to thrive, in order to live a better life, in order to live the life that she desires. What does freedom mean to you as a woman?
Well, to me, freedom is really all about what you said. It's actually being able to do the things that you love to do without any restrictions, like you said, without any fear, without prejudice, without worry. You just do you, and the things that will empower you, would will keep you going, would it will literally empower you, evolve you, self-development, without any fear of contradictions, without any fear of judges here and there and all of that. So to me, that's literally freedom. So to do what you want without any side eyes looking at you, you scared. What are you going to do? This person is going to say this. If I do this thing, even if you know that this is what is leading you. So
Right, right, great.
so to
Do you
me,
consider
that's like
yourself free?
freedom. You yeah.
Do you consider
Yeah,
yourself to
I
be
do.
free?
Like a lot.
You
Yeah, I
do?
do. A lot. A lot.
Right.
Yeah, a lot. I
Okay,
do a
so
lot, really. Yeah. I do,
and
and I believe that in as much as in as much as I'm not alone, because as once you're not alone, if you're, for example, if you have family, you always need to also put their needs into consideration while doing certain things, But even so, you still think about yourself, because at the end of the day, it's yourself first, and then any other person. Because I mean, in this world, you have to die alone. You get buried alone. You come to this world alone. So, in as much as you have family to think about and to consider while making some certain important decisions, you also need to think about yourself first. So, yeah, I think I am able to manage the two. So, I think I'm completely free on that. Yeah.
Awesome. So, how did you, if you give us a bit of a backdrop about your background? For me, I would say that the reason why I was able to achieve freedom is because my father died when I was 16. Some may see it as a tragic
Oh,
event, just like I did many, many years. But I've just realized, like in my 30s, that if my father did not die, I will not be in this path in which I am. And some people say that, oh, it was Sarah Jakes who said that we have to learn to take our mess and turn it into our message, into our success. So if you give us a bit of a backdrop
yeah,
about your
right.
life and how do you think that your upbringing, some of the things that you've been through, how do you think that those things, give us some instances. First, tell us about your upbringing, and then give us some instances
Okay.
that you have, or some things that you've overcome, what you've been through, your journey to freedom.
Okay, so thank you for that question. So my upbringing, first of all, I'm from a Christian home, and a monogamy home. So it's just like my dad having a wife only, and my siblings and I only. It's true that along the way we have cousins here and there who lived with us, but yeah. So as a child, I'm the fourth out of six kids that my parents have, and so growing up, I wasn't alone. I was with my siblings already there, and I used to see the way my parents are going to treat my siblings. Like they're going to pamper them at the same time, be very stern. Especially my dad. My dad he had always been this very strict man. But funny enough, in the quarter, mind you, people were scared of my mom instead. When my mom was the relaxed one, I think it's just because my mom never really, she wasn't very friendly from the outside, so people were not like very comfortable with her. Meanwhile, she was a very simple person. On the contrary, my dad was very strict, but he was very friendly from the outside. So he will always run there, pass with his car, and honk at me. Oh, dad. Oh, is he home? Wanna come? If he's not, they're like, oh, your mom is there. I'm like, what? My mom? Are you scared of my mom? Really? My mom was so relaxed. But mind you, even though my mom was relaxed, she still didn't joke, because she was a teacher. She's retired now. She was a teacher, and as teachers, there's always the use of corporal punishment, and
Right.
all
A
of
teacher
that
will always
when
be a
you
teacher.
falter. And my dad wasn't
Uh-huh.
a teacher by profession, but he became a teacher to his kids, for his kids. So he also used all the methods possible to correct us. So I was always lucky to this day, because I was always lucky while I was little, because my dad, given the fact that I was like the last, well, I wasn't the last then, but my brother was still a baby, so they didn't consider that he was my follower. So it was more like I'm the last, because the things that I would do that my parents would just let it slide because I'm still small. And but mind you, my siblings are going to have a real heart. So one time I remember I was all grown, and my dad asked my little brother. Then I was like, how old was I? I was like 7, 8. So my younger brother was like 4. So my dad told my younger brother like, "Hey, come home, come to the table and join me for dinner." Because then my mom had cooked and we had all eaten and the food was finished. So only my dad's share was left. So after he came back from work, he called us, my younger brother and I, because we're the two last, come home, come to the table, have some dinner with me. And I'm like, okay. There were no spoons. It was only his spoon. So I told my younger brother, like, hey, follow me to the kitchen so we can get our spoons. My younger brother gave me deaf ears. Like he didn't hear. He just sat there. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the kitchen. I get my own spoon only and come and start eating. You are going to be there and I'll finish the food in front of you. So he didn't utter a word. He just kept quiet. I went to the kitchen, took my spoon, and came back. And when I was about eating, my dad took that spoon away from me and gave my brother, like, go get your own spoon. And I'm like, wait, what? Why would you do this? Didn't you see how naughty he was? He didn't want to follow me to the kitchen, and now you want me to. So I was so mad. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to have this meal anymore. I'm not going to eat. He's like, okay, no problem. So I sat there. I went to the living room. I sat there. I was so mad. They stayed at the dining and then they ate. My younger brother had he had his own share. He was so full. My dad called me. I thought, okay, maybe my dad wants to kind of apologize and stuff like that. Mind you, I saw him finishing the remains of my younger brother because my younger brother was unable to finish it because it was much. It was for the two of us. He gave me the plate, handed the plate over to me to go keep it in the kitchen. Oh goodness, sis. I was so mad. I started crying. And I took it because I never had any choice. So I took the plate, took it to the kitchen. I kept it there. And then he said, okay, while coming, bring some water for your younger brother to drink because because the water here is not enough. I was so mad. I said, okay, I didn't answer. So I took a bottle and I was trying to fill because we had this uh
Like
this
a water fountain.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I was trying to fill water in the bottle to take it to the living room. And since it was slow, my dad thought I was deliberately delaying. I heard him shouting like, "Hey, bring the water like that." And then I just answered, "It's not full yet," but in a lower voice, like I was so angry. He didn't hear. So he thought I was just ignoring him. Mind you, he came to the kitchen, saw me. I was like, but I asked you to bring because the water I was filling was almost getting full when it slid out of my hand and fell. So it poured. So I restarted the process. When he came and met me, he was like, oh, but I told you to bring the water. I'm like, look, it's not full. He was like, but since then, how come it's not full? Pap, pap, pap. He took me and trashed me, sis.
Oh my.
Gave me corporal punishment. Can you
Oh my
imagine?
God.
After all, so I was like, but how could you do this to me? I cried so hard. Then he took water to my brother, and then my brother he finished drinking, rested, and then he told my dad, like, okay, dad, good night. I'm going to bed. It's like, okay, good night, son. He went to bed. I sat there in the living room. I didn't go to bed because I wanted my dad to apologize to me. Like I wasn't happy. Then my dad finally called me back and apologized to me. And he explained to me like why he had to hit me and why. He was like, this boy here is your little brother. You can't be comparing with him. You're more than him by 4 years. How can you act like he's your mate and stuff like I'm like, but I think we're all small. I think it's okay for him to follow me to go get a spoon. He's always like that. How will he learn? That's how I was telling my dad at that age. My dad was like, no, if he was already big enough he would have understood, but he didn't like that. I didn't want to take care of my brother or protect him or something like that. So but he's like, oh, he's really sorry for hitting me. And I'm like, okay. He said, okay, tomorrow and until Friday I'm going to increase your lunch box. I'll make sure that your mommy increases your lunch box just so I'm forgiven, because like that's what I can do for you. So I'm like, okay, thank you, Dad. And then I went to bed. I was happy. So why am I saying this? I'm just saying this because I'm trying to bring out a little bit of how we grew up at home, like the upbringing that we had. Despite the fact that my dad was, he had to pamper us from time to time, he was also very strict. Like, uh when it's time to for business, it's time for business. No pleasures, no jokes, no nothing. And I remember when my mom traveled, each time my mom traveled, I was so scared, like, oh my God, mom is going, how are we going to do? Because I felt like mom being at home was like protecting us from like my dad somehow. Meanwhile, it was just an illusion that I had. Because when she's there, my dad wouldn't really concentrate that much on us as opposed to when she's not there. So when she's not there, I'm always like, oh my God, mom is not there. We're going to have it hard, and my dad will always come back from work earlier than he usually does, and then he's going to let us eat after the because we had this house help. She's after cooking, she'll go. When we come back from school, he's going to come back early from work, like 3 p.m., give us food, we sleep, we go to bed. After the wake up and take our timetable, because there's something about my dad. He always said that once you know figures, you can never go wrong in life. Like figures are the first things to knowledge, to intelligence, to someone being very intelligent at school and stuff like that. So he really believed in figures a lot. So he always gave us this times, my brother and I. He'll give me from 2 times table to maybe 4 or 6, and then he'll give my brother from 7 to like 12 and stuff like that. So we have to recite it. So mind you, if you didn't practice before, once you found, he was just like, so are you saying that you don't know this? Like, I mean, my sister, my older sister, when he'll call her to teach her maths, she'll be like, when she gives her some things to do, one correct them, she will look at them. He'll look at them, and if there's one thing she feels, he'll be like, but look, this thing's that she'll start by me. Oh, Dad, please, I'm sorry. Don't hit me. She'll start crying. Don't punish me, please. Like, it was a jungle, but mind you, it shaped us real good. It shaped us. We are who we are today, thanks to that upbringing that my dad is. And mind you, it's not to sound entitled or something. God blessed those efforts, and everybody is in a better place, in a better space, by God's grace. So it's like this helped us a lot. And we always say it, even morally, we grew up to be good kids, like good bad stuff. No, we were not into all of this bad gangs, even at school. Even though we went to boarding school, we're not influenced by people that had more than we did. We were not, like, literally, of course we had our flaws, but yeah, overall we really, so it really shaped us to who we are morally, physically, everything that you can think of. So yeah, we're really grateful for that. Now, of course, my dad is already old, so he's unable to do all of the things that he did. Plus, we're already big, so I mean, what else can he do? That was just his own way to bring us up, and it did work. It did work. I mean, I remember even back in boarding school, we always had this pressure that in boarding school there was always this competition, because I went to a boarding school in Baminda, Sembit. So that school, it was a Catholic school, and it's like, it's always, there's so many people there that are from very privileged backgrounds. Their parents are big people in the society, like big business tycoons, ministers, directors, and all of that. And there are also kids who are there who have struggling parents or average parents. And those who are even from like modest class, so are less privileged. But even so, we always felt like once, if your parent is able to send you there, it means that they're able, and so you shouldn't really look at it in another way, because there's so many people that want to be there, but they are unable to, right? So there's this one time, there was this kid. I don't remember if I already told you the story, but I will still say it because now I'm saying it for everyone to hear. So there was this time, because of this peer pressure that existed in school, always the tendency of showing off, like, no, I'm this, no, I'm that. So there was this girl who always showed off a lot, like a lot. She would always tell us things about her background, herself, her parents, and it's true that her dad was this wealthy man before, but unfortunately the dad went on retirement, and things weren't the same as they used to be while they were growing up, because it seems he didn't really invest much in his retirement. So things really kind of the lifestyle that they had kind of reduced. So this girl never accepted that. She was still living in the past. Like, no, this is the way we are. So one time, we were closing, and usually the school arranges for buses to come pick people up who are going to different towns in the country. So, and then there are other kids whose parents come to pick them up from school. So this girl was one of the students that her parents always picked from school. So she waited for her dad, and by the time her dad came, our bus was yet to leave. So we were still there, literally. And then she saw her, then she saw the car. It was this, this old cars that existed. What's the brand? Like this, you remember this old cars that we usually see in movies that has the
Like
square.
Mercedes,
Yeah, like, yeah, those kind
those
of
old
cars, Mercedes.
Mercedes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Yeah,
good, Mercedes. Mercedes. So he
yeah,
came with that, and the engine was so old that he had
loud.
to make a lot of noise. She's like, oh my God, what's happening to this man? He brought the car that we're going to the market with. And it was like,
This
the
man, she
market?
was referring to her dad.
Yeah, she said, this man, how could this man bring the car that he takes to the market, that we take to the market for shopping? Like, this is a shopping car. And we were so shocked, like, so is there a shopping car now different from a farm car or something like that, or different from a visit car? What's this whole thing about? And then we didn't say anything. We just sat there looking at her, observing her, like, okay, let's watch. And then he came. So she was like, Dad, oh my God, why did you bring this car? This car that we usually take to them. The dad was like, but this is the car that I have. What do you? And then he said it. Of course, it's a man. He's old. He doesn't really think about all of those things. He didn't know that that's why his daughter has been in school trying to portray the life that she doesn't have. And he's like, but this is the car that I have. What car did you want me to bring? So, oh, but the other cars, no, no, no. She just started inventing something and just moving away from her dad, like she wants to go get her luggage. And then her dad just kept quiet. And we were so shocked. Like, what's this? At least, even if we were still in high school, we were already able to reason that this is not you know? So that pressure, that peer pressure, she took her stuff, put it in the car, and then they went back. They left the campus, they left school, while our boss also left. In the bus, we talked about the situation. Like, it was more than us. Like, how can this girl say that the car that her dad takes to the market or something for shopping? So, and her dad literally said it, like, this is the only car that he has. How can she? What car does she want
Pretend.
him to bring?
Yeah, yeah.
So that peer pressure, that's something that I never had. I had a friend, like a friend who always considered me her best friend. Her dad was a minister then. She always begged me, Kathy, I like you so much. Please, can we be friends more than this? Like, having our foot put in one trunk, our bathings together, just so we could get really close. And I always refused because, first off, I knew that she ate a lot and the food would just finish really quickly, even though it looks a lot. And secondly, I knew that people are going to talk like, oh, I'm having to mix my food with hers because she has a lot more
She's
than I do,
yeah,
and I'm going to benefit from her, things like that. And I had a reputation to protect in as much as I was in school, in secondary school. So I said, no, I wasn't going to do that. I didn't really give her the reasons clearly. I just told her it's okay. We can still be very good friends, even if we don't have our things joined together. And finally, she accepted it. So I didn't have to feel, even situations, in situations where I could feel pressure, I try to avoid those situations in order not to fall. Like, for example, if I believe that if I had to um share the food that I had with this friend of mine who was drunk, at some point I would have felt this pressure from what people have been saying, you know, unconsciously from what people have been saying. It's like, oh, Kathy, oh, she. But mind you, sis, mind you, I had everything that I asked from my parents. In as much as we weren't the richest kids, but we had literally everything that we needed. Every semester, every term, I made sure that I had my uniforms in check, new uniforms, new vests, like everything that I needed, I had. It's just, it's just, of course, some people are always higher than others, So it was just that kind of scenario. And if I was this kid who was very who felt so much pressure, I could feel that pressure from this girl or from other kids, from other students in school whose parents, because on visiting days, trust me, sis, you don't want to know, parents will literally come with bags. This Ghana must go bags pack for just one kid. You see a parent, the kid is calling other friends, can you please help me carry these things to the dormitory? Like, 1, 2, 3 Ghana must go bags full, pallets of juice, this, that. And there's some students who had just this market bags, taxamotos, the way we call it here in Cameroon, just barely full. Oh, this is what I brought for you. And then the mom, you want to see the mom, the parent even took a transportation. The parent took a public transportation to get to school, while these parents come with your cars, like big Range Rovers, SUVs, like. So if you're pressured, if you're a kid who is easily influenced, those things are going to affect you. And if you're from a background that is not, if you weren't raised properly, you're going to be affected. Like, be contented with what you have. Even in as much as the school always in as much as they always preached this because they knew the silent competition that existed between students. They always preached this, but it's always easier said than done. They would say it, but people would still, it made people to the same just so they could meet up, so many things. I never felt that for once. Never. And this is all thanks to my upbringing. So yeah, I'm still, like I said, I'm so grateful to my parents for this. And I'm also grateful that while growing up, it tried the best, and then I never had wanted all the time, but for the most part I did, which I'm really grateful for. And yeah, I am here today with all the values and the morals and everything that my parents inculcated in us. So yeah, I'm grateful.
so if I hear you correctly, I mean those stories are they're funny, but in hindsight they are very sad. Personally, I believe that, peer pressure is one of the things that derails a lot of women, a lot of young girls. And I believe that I was
Yeah.
just listening to Bishop R.C. Blakes, and he was saying that folly, is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod drives it out. That's a biblical verse. I think it's the book of Proverbs 30. I'll find out. And he was saying that a lot of parents think that not showing tough love to their child is actually loving the child better. And I always say this to my
Yeah.
kids, like, if I don't show you tough love, then you're gonna grow up to hate me. Why? Because there's no child
Yeah.
who has ever grown up to thank their parents for not disciplining them. None. I don't know any child.
Right. Right.
Every
Right.
child that grows up to be successful, look at what you're saying now. Every child that grows up to become successful is because they were disciplined. Because at the end of the day, folly is bound in the heart of a child, but a rod will drive it out. When, just listening to you and the powerful upbringing that you've had, I can definitely say for sure that the Bible, as the Bible says in the that teach a child how they should, teach a child when they're young, raise a child when they're young, and show them how
Yeah.
they should go, and when they grow up, they'll not depart from it. It's not a lie.
Yeah.
It's not a
Not at
lie.
all.
Just listening to you and the pressure that you went through, with a minister's child. I know how it is in boarding schools because I went to boarding school as well. Without that sense of self and that self discipline and that solid background, it is very easy to fall into these
Yeah.
traps. It's very easy to become a shadow of yourself. It is very easy to be railroaded. It is very easy really start to let go of of who you are and just become
And
cuckoo,
mind you, just to say like a little thing, mind you, those kids who most of those kids who were kids even trying to look at me in an envious way because I was very self-confident, mind you. I was very confident in with what I had, with the little that I had, I was very confident. Yeah. And I believe that that's what really brought people closer to me. Like, wow, this girl, you're so confident. And then I remember someone asked a friend of mine that is very close to me, my childhood friend. We went to the same boarding school. She asked her, like, hey, what background is Cathy from? She asked, is she from an average home or a rich home? Oh my goodness. Cameroon and
power
electricity.
outage.
Sorry. Okay, cool. Is she from an average home? Is she from a rich home? Is she from a mother's home? Like, what kind of home is she from? And then my friend said, she was, no, I think she's from, I will not say she's from an average home. I didn't say she's from a rich home because, I mean, there's nothing that she wants. Pardon. There's nothing that she wants that she doesn't get from her parents. Her parents give her. It's true that it's not excessive, but it's something. So I think that I'll categorize her. And then I was surprised. I'm like, but why would this other friend even ask you this? Like, what are her impressions of me? Or is she feeling like I don't feel insecure beside her, or is it the self confidence, or what is it? But I never asked her why she asked. I just left it. I just let sleeping dogs lie. So yeah, that's just a small thing I wanted to add. Like,
Yeah, not just to piggyback on what you've just said about self-confidence. Do you think that it is that self-confidence that you had from a young age that eventually led you into adulthood and into the freedom that you have at the moment? How did you progress from when you left boarding school,
absolutely.
uh, yeah, into getting your freedom, into getting your freedom?
So, like you said, yeah, I would say that I'll put this on my self confidence. I've always had self confidence, even from little. So back in boarding school, like I said, this self-confidence made a lot of people to think that I was even a minister's child. To think that because I was always self-contented, self-confident, I mean, always, I'm doing my thing and all of what I was doing, but I was no pressure, no. So instead, the people that are the ones who have the real thing even envy me. They come towards me like, hey, they want to be friends with me. And I didn't really want to be friends with most of those people, like I said, because I didn't want people to start saying, oh, everything and nothing, trash and everything. So yeah, when I left high school, I went to the university. Confidence continued. It didn't stop. it continued. And even after I left university and I traveled out, because I first went to China, even when I traveled out, it was still there. Like, I believe that it's even this confidence, not that I believe it's actually this confidence that got me out of the country. So this is like a story that happened. So I'll just briefly say it. Okay. So the first time I wanted to travel, so I had my brother's wife. Uh, then yeah, my brother's wife, actually, she was his then fiance. She was in China then. She's the one who actually suggested this to our family, like, hey, Kathy can join China. It's not bad. She's doing good for myself. She can also do this. She can teach and everything. Mind you, I never imagined that I was teaching because I really hated this profession. I don't know why. I'd always hated it. So I never imagined that I was ever going to teach. But then she brought this opportunity, and I was just from finishing university. I just graduated and I finished my IT course, 6 months course that I was doing. So back the situation, the opportunity came, and my parents like, what do you think about it? I think you should take this opportunity and go there. If at the end of the day you don't really like it there, you can always change, you can always leave. It's not a must. Like, so I'm like, oh well, okay, I'll see. So I started this procedure and everything. So there was this agent who was handling everything. So what he would do is he would talk to a school, and he'll be the middleman. So anything the school says, they'll tell him, and then he will tell me, and vice versa. I'll tell him, and then he tells the school as well. So unfortunately for him, unfortunately for me, he fell on an agent, like a school that wanted to the teacher, a school that didn't want to talk to that didn't want to pass through via a third party. They wanted to talk to the people involved directly. So they're like, okay, we're going to give you your commission if this person, if we to work with this person. But during the process, the whole process, we want you to not be part of it. Don't interfere. Just put us directly in contact with her, and we will talk to her directly. So he accepted, but he told me behind, like, hey, look, whatever message that you receive, you get from those people from that school, make sure to forward it to me always. Don't miss out one thing. I'm like, okay. And as the little smart bird that I am, I was wondering, like, but why does this man want me to send him like everything? Isn't money his concern here? Like, why does he want me to send him everything from scratch and stuff like that? I just said it to myself. I didn't ask him. So I told him, okay, I was going to do that. So I was doing that. I was actually sending him all the messages, all the emails I received from the school and everything. And then sorry. There's low voltage. That's why he's behaving like that. So
Okay. Okay.
finally, I started thinking like, this man, he's probably up to something. Suddenly, he sent me a message. Hey, I don't want you to talk to the school. So the person that was representing the school was Emily. Her name was Emily. It's like, I don't want you to talk to Emily anymore. Just block her and everything. I'll look for another school for you. Blah blah. I'm like, but wait, why? Everything is already on track. Like, everything
Going
is
well.
working well.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I really wanted to know. So he told me in the beginning that I was going to pay in 2 million francs CFA, and that was going to go to the school. That's what the school requires from people they hire. Of course, that was a lie, sis. And as naive as I was, I didn't know that 2 million francs CFA that he was asking was for him. But because he wanted to claim the good guy before us, he acted like the school was the one who demanded that amount of money. You understand? So we're like, okay. Finally, we negotiated to like 1.6 million, and it was all good. He was all good by it. So when he said I should stop talking to the school, to Emily and everything, and I'm like, wait, why? Why do we want me to stop talking to Emily? What happened? He's like, look, I'll look for another school real quickly for you, and if once you get here, I'm going to explain everything to you. And that sounded serious. Why do you talk to me like I don't reason? Why do you talk to me like I'm a
Exactly.
child? How can you tell me like
Exactly.
once I get there, you're gonna explain everything to me when everything is already done? What's there to explain?
Right.
So even if there was
You're
something,
right.
there's nothing I can do at that moment, you know. So it didn't. That's where it started sounding funny to me. I'm like, hmm. But I didn't tell him anything. I just kept quiet. Emily then wrote to me again, and I replied. She wrote to me. She was like, "Hey, Kathy, yeah, know your friend," because she thought that that guy was my friend. So she said his name was Frank. She was like, "Hey, your friend Frank, uh, him and I we are loggerheads, but if you want to, we can always continue the procedure together. It's fine." She was a Chinese lady. It's okay. Blah 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, but honestly, I really love to know what really happened, because my friend is not really telling me clearly what happened. He just said he's going to tell me later on and stuff. Of course, she was very open. She told me point blank, like, your friend wants us to charge you to pay a certain amount of money, and we don't do that. It's against our policy, company's policy. So that's where we fell off. I'm like, oh, everything made sense to me. So, from the beginning, he kept saying that the money that we were going to pay was for the school. So he wanted me to send the money directly to the lady. So the lady would in turn send him like a million francs CFA, and then she would stay with 600,000. But little did he know that everyone is not that dubious, everyone is not dishonest, everyone is not, So she said no, she didn't agree to it. She's like, other agents are going to accept because, of course, they're making extra money, because those agents get money from school already, and then how would they get money from the teachers again? So that lady was thinking, it means that I'll get money twice, from the school and from the teacher, and that's not okay. We get money just from the school for bringing in the teacher. So no, we're not going to accept that. So that's why he was looking for another school that was going to benefit, blah, 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 blah. So I said, okay, Emily, I've heard what you've said, and wow, I'm very surprised. So I'm going to continue with you. She was glad, like, okay. Then I told Frank, like, hey, Frank, I'm sorry, but I'm going to continue with you, with Emily. But you can always tell me how much you want me to pay you for the services rendered so far, and we will pay you that every penny of it. He was so mad that he unblocked me. Even though he eventually unblocked me, but he didn't want anything. He was like, no, when I know all these people, I'm telling you that they're like this, they're like that. I was just like, oh, just leave it. I already know the kind of person that you are. I know this kind of people. So I said I was going to, but at the same time, I was a little bit scared because it was my first time, and really, I didn't know who Emily was. She could probably be also just, and at the end of the day, I'm going to really have a heart when it's time for some real negotiations and everything. And I never had the experience that I really mentioned that I had. And by the way, the little experience that I had here was completely different, because they have a different teaching method, from what we have here. So it's literally different completely, But at least the fact that if you've worked before, even if it's a kindergarten, daycare, nursery, it's fine. You're considered, right? So this man, I finally left him. My brother was so mad because he said his then fiance was very angry, like, oh, I spoiled her relationship with this man, and that this man doesn't want to talk to her anymore because he's saying that we all connived to do this and everything. And I'm like, no, honestly, we didn't connive. I've asked this man, it's not like I want to dupe him or something. I've asked him, tell me how much you think I can give you for all the services you've rendered to me so far. And then I'll just continue with Emily from where we stopped, from where the two of us stopped, or the three of us. And he didn't want to because right from the start, he had made it look like he was just trying to help. And this money wasn't going to go to him. So he wanted to maintain this integrity that he had, so-called integrity. So that I believe that that's the reason why he wasn't able to give me a figure like, okay, give me this amount of money. So he was so mad and everything. My brother and his wife, they were so mad. And my parents were like, wait, are you serious? So you prefer us to pay this money than to work with this lady? And then mind you, at some point this lady started complicating stuff for me, and I was like, oh my god, if Frank was here, he was going to trash everything out. How do I handle this? And I contacted Frank again, like, oh my god, Frank, can you please help? I'm so sorry that I did this. He's like, I told you to stop working with Emily. I didn't hear. Now you're stuck. Okay, this time around, if I accept to work with you, you're going to pay 2 million without the school that I'm going to do for you is asking for 2 million. Like imaginary school, he just is asking for 2 million, and there's no negotiation about it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay. It's like, no, think about it. Talk to your parents, your family, and if they agree, you come back to me the next day. Don't just accept now. I'm like, okay. So I talked to them and they're like, well, at this point, you don't have any choice because if you're already stuck with Emily and stuff, it's going to be complicated. And then I just prayed to God, like, God, you put me in this situation. Can you please take me out of it? You know, I'm always this very pushful child, this bold child. Please, this self-confident child. Mind you, the next day I didn't reply the man. 2 days later, Emily contacted me again, and she actually left everything like sleeping dogs, like because there were some things that she was asking from me, like, you know, in Cameroon, most documents, ministries, they always put like the French term, stuff like that, and they want an English term, like, hey, can you translate this document? What does this mean? What does this mean? So I was like fed up, like, but this is what this means. I don't want to pay for translation again. It's costly. Like, oh, what the hell? Just leave it. Fortunately for me, when she contacted me, she agreed, like, okay, it's fine. I've explained to her it's okay. She's going to also try to explain to the immigration officer, blah blah blah. And mind you, since I didn't reply, get back to Frank. Frank got back to me. I'm like, oh, that money is a lot. My family has said they will not be able to pay the money. But it's like, okay, since you don't want to travel, fine, leave it. I'm like, okay. Little did he know that I continued with Emily. I said that because Emily had contacted me, like, hey, finally got so kind, everything pulled through with Emily. I went to had this visa appointment. I went to the embassy and everything was fine. He gave me the visa. My dad said that story to everybody that gave him a listening ear. He was like, this my child, you know. Amongst all my kids, I have 6 kids. This child is the child that has resembled me the most. This child is bold and fearless and pushful and self-confident and everything. I mean, he told everyone that could hear, that had ears to listen to him. He said, I'm going out there right now, and he's not scared one bit. It's my first time and I'm young. I think then I was like 23. He's not scared because he knows that I'm going to be okay. I'm going to make it. And he even mentioned, like, when my brothers or sisters were going out for the first time, he was scared, like, are these people going to survive? Are they going to be okay? Once it was my turn, he boldly was confident, like, no, this is going to be fine. She can survive there by herself. And you know, China being a communist country, like the laws are not always like the Western world with some things, like it's a little bit complicated there. But he said, even so, I was going to make it. And he was right. I'm this pushful. So, I mean, this confidence, like I said, this confidence pushed me to take a bold step in life for my own financial freedom, you know? Once I went there, of course, it's never easy the first year. It was very hard for me. New environment, new culture, new this. I had to adapt all of that, all of that. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it because slowly but surely I got financially independent, which even added my self-confidence the more. Imagine when I was financially dependent, I was confident. Then when I got financially independent, how do you expect me to be? Like it has to triple. I mean, it has to. I mean, all over the place. The confidence has to be all over the place, and that's what happened. So
So how did you
once
how
I
did
got
you
financially,
yeah, so how did you become financially independent as a young girl, 23? You've gone to China. We all know how it rolls out there with the laws. Everything is really strict. How did you, as a first-time traveler, without your parents, without any family, how did you cope? And how did you start, in terms of your building your own uh empire, in terms of your career, in terms of the money you were making, in terms of saving, in terms of growing your money? How exactly did you do it? Okay, you were teaching, but how did you grow your money and how did you eventually gain that financial freedom?
okay, so once I went there, I started working, of course, and it wasn't even though I was working, it wasn't easy for the first year because then or the first 6 months or the first semester because then I had to pay taxes. Like they cut a lot of money. The school had its policy like newcomers they deduct money. So at the end, because the first time I went there I earned like in France CFA, okay, in yeah, let me just convert it. In France CFA, it was like 700,000, and that was very small. So everyone's like, but you're a foreign
100,000
expert. You shouldn't be
CFA
earning
a
this.
month.
Yeah.
That's like
So yeah,
$200 a month.
yeah. So they're like, you shouldn't be earning 700,000 CFA as a foreign expert. You should be earning more. If you're already
So you're
here, it would
earning
have been something else. But
700,000 a month or 100,000? Seven
yeah,
or
yeah.
one?
No.
Seven.
700.
So that's like
100. Oh my goodness, are you kidding?
$1,400.
No,
Yeah.
700.
I was like, a minute. So that's
Yeah.
$1,400. Okay. Yeah.
No, come on. Yeah.
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 I was like, were you
So
living in the streets or
it wasn't
how do you
easy
pay
because
rent? Uh-huh.
even though I had that money, well, even though I had that money, it was still not okay because I had to. No, the school took care of the lodging. So
Accommodation.
where I stayed, the school took care of it. Yeah, the
Uh-huh.
accommodation, they took care of the accommodation. They took care of feeding. They were taking care of feeding during the week.
Nice.
But it's just their Chinese meals, and I wasn't used to. So it was so hard for me in the beginning, really hard. Good thing I brought some stuff that I could cook, and I didn't know anywhere to go, like where to go buy stuff to cook. And I had this language barrier. Oh my goodness, I can't even. It was so hard to communicate. I had this translation app. When I go to like a shop, I'll just write what I want and then I play it for the man to hear. Sometimes he will hear, sometimes he will not hear. And mind you, sometimes they would hear what you're saying, but they will pretend not to hear. They'll be like, Timputo, Timputo. Like, I don't understand. Even if they understand, just because they don't want you to have a conversation with them. They don't want to listen to you like, hey, this foreigner, I don't want to talk to this foreigner. Like, hey, I beg, So yeah. And there I had this 700,000 a month. I needed to the school needed to deduct some money So they deducted like around 200,000 or 300,000 monthly for 3 months. They deducted that amount of
Wow.
money as caution.
Wow.
That's what they said, that this is money for caution. We're deducting. And then
Right.
we would deduct. So you have to pay a caution of exactly your salary, the salary you're earning, which is 700,000. But we can't deduct everything at once because then you remember nothing. So each month we're going to deduct like 200, 250 from your salary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And then besides that, they deducted some other small amounts, like okay, for lateness, oh, you're wearing for your performance, blah 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 blah, all of that shit. So it rounded up to them deducting like maybe 100,000 francs for safer, for all of those other things. And then I'll find myself with just like 300 or maybe 350, and I'm like, okay, I need to also, I want the family to also have a taste of my money, like first salaries and stuff like that. So I'll send everything, like literally more of it. And then, there's this African thing, first salary thing. I did that the first month. And my brother's like, wait, before my brother had to advise me, I'd already done. He's like, don't try to follow this thing of first salary thing, because that thing is just bullshit. To him, it's just bullshit. He's like, you need the money there more than they do over there.
Mm-hmm.
We can always
Mm-hmm.
send them this money later on when you have more. Right now,
Right.
things are tough. The school is already deducting a lot from you, and so how do you cope? Unfortunately, the deal had been done. Trust me, I suffered. I needed winter stuff, and I got there during winter, and I needed winter coats, boots, and everything. And I had just one winter boot that I had, and one winter jacket. I wore it for 1 month. Sis. So literally, I'll wash it, and then there'll be a dryer. So I'll just wash and dry. You know, I wore that jacket for 1 month. And the next month, after I bought stuff, like after I had, because I didn't send money the next month because I already sent first salary, right? So even though the next month I still had a little bit of money on me, I took it and bought some of my stuff like winter jackets and boots. I remember going to class, and my Chinese colleague was like, wow, Kathy, you look so beautiful. And I'm like, oh my god. So these people actually noticed me with one boot and one jacket that I wore for 1 month and a half, literally. Oh my gosh. And I felt like, oh wow, life. It's funny because if they had even known the person that I was before, they wouldn't even be thinking. So I can imagine the perception that they had of me in Africa as a whole, like, oh, these people, it means this is a confirmation of what we hear about them, like they're really poor people. Yeah. And I was like, well, it's okay. It happens, like whatever. So I did spend that money, and I had some reserves, but even so, it was really 150. Nothing small. I had to feed, I had to, you know, until the school stopped deducting the money because they had already deducted all of the money. What they did was, so when they started paying me, so they'll still deduct like around 100,000 francs apart from that 700 because of all of those things that I explained earlier. So after they deduct the money, I'll be left with like 600,000, which will permit me, even if I have to send anything like to my parents or something, it will not be a lot. It will not be. I'll still be left with like at least 500,000, which I started saving up. And then there was this parent who came from the States. So he saw me, he was like, can you please excuse me one time? And then I'm like, yeah, I'm all yes, how are you? It's like, I'm good, how are you? Good. And then he talked to me like, oh, they just came from the US and they have their daughter in the school. He showed me the daughter. He's like, he doesn't want her to forget English because back in the States, she was already speaking well. He doesn't want her to forget English, so he really love to have like a private tutor for her. home if I don't mind. And I'm like, oh, these things are really out of, they're really forbidden. It's not in the contract, like it's forbidden in the country, you're not supposed to. So I told him, like, look, we are going to talk later on. Let's just take my number or give me yours, and later on we're going to discuss better, like maybe when you can pick her up in the evening. He said okay. He took my WeChat, because WeChat is the application. It's just like WhatsApp, right? It's our WhatsApp in China. So we exchanged that and he left. So yeah, later on in the evening, we talked, and we got to a conclusion, like, okay, I was going to tutor his daughter at home, uh, 3 times a week, and he was going to pay me like 150,000 per hour. Sorry, 15,000. What am I saying? 150 per hour? Like, what the hell? So he said he was going to pay me 15,000 per hour, and I was okay with it. I'm like, okay, it's fine. I went there, I
That's like
tutored this kid,
$20
we
an
spoke,
hour.
and yeah. So this kid was very smart. So everything was just very smooth, because this kid was very smart and she was welcoming and she really was happy. Plus, I was her teacher in school. So seeing her teacher at home, it just excites her. Like, she's so happy, like, wow, my teacher came to our house. So I told this man, like, don't give me the money at the end of the class, because then I don't really need the money. Since I have what to spend on. Just at the end of the month, you just gather everything and sum up everything and give it to me. So I'll just put it in my account. So it's more like he was giving me the money in bulk, and then I just put it in my account. So that's how I kept saving and saving. And there was this other kid. So he decided, like, okay, I want to help you make more money, because he really asked me openly, like, I don't know if this is private, but I'm just curious to know, like, how do you do in the school? Like, how much do you earn? And most people, like in the Western world, it's okay to say your salary, like how much you earn per hour. Like,
Exactly.
really, it's not an
Exactly.
issue.
It's not a
Yeah,
taboo.
it's in Africa. Yeah, it's not a taboo. It's in Africa. Like, what? Are you really asking me how much I earn?
Right.
Are you crazy? Like, yeah, it's not a taboo. You can even go online sometimes and you see how much this person earns in this company.
Right.
So it's not a
Right.
taboo. Like, yeah. So he asked me, it's like, oh, he knows I might not be comfortable with it, but yeah, like, so how much do I earn here? He really asked me, and I spoke to him. I told him everything, and he was like, he felt like, oh, that wasn't very much. So he said, okay, what he's going to do is he's going to talk to his other friends that have kids as well about this tutoring thing. So they would come in and tutor, and they would pay. So he said he would talk to those two of his friends. One has a girl and one has a boy. So I would tutor the three of them, but just the difference would be that they'll pay 150, um, they'll pay
15.
15,000 per hour, and then he will pay 10,000 because he brought them. I'm like, okay,
Right.
it's fine.
Smart man.
No problem. It's still business negotiations, right? Yeah. So I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, I'm good, because I mean, I had just 15,000 an hour. So if you're adding two more kids, it means I'm going to have like 40, like, yeah, 40,000 an
40.
hour.
No,
No,
yeah,
40, because
it's
he's
actually
paying two, right?
$70. No, oh, wait, 30, 30, 20. Yeah, you'll be making $80 an hour instead of
Yeah, so
30.
I'm like, how can I leave it's that's good. That's good. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I was happy.
Kathy's on the phone right now, just having a call. I hope you're enjoying the conversation so far. I'm definitely enjoying the story time. I hope that her story is inspiring you in one way or the other, and you are, picking up some of the things that she's talking about: self-confidence, about being resilient, about being pushful, about the power or the importance of the right upbringing. Some of the things that she said so far are really powerful, and I'm having a great time listening to her story. So Kathy is back with us now.
So I started earning like uh eighty
$80 an hour.
dollars an hour, unlike
That's so
before that
good.
I earned $30. So I'm like, oh wow, this is good negotiation, you know. Another person will even say, okay, I wouldn't pay, but I would look for other kids that are going to do. My kid would just benefit from the class, but I wouldn't pay.
Right.
And this parent was very, I think that he was very kind because once you have a like a tutoring thing one on one with a child, it's more efficient than when they're two or
A
more,
group.
because you have
Yeah.
to give the same attention to all of them. So now the attention
Right.
is divided. It's not only on his kid, but he didn't think about it
Right.
that way. He wanted to help. And I mean, I was grateful. Plus, I believe that he also came back from the States, and he also he was used to how things were there, how they used to earn, how much they used to earn per hour, stuff like that. So he felt like, oh,
That's
as
what
a
you
foreign
deserve.
expert, this is not okay
Right.
for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Chinese. This is my country, so it's different. So then I started saving more. So I became that financial freedom. And then, mind you, I started selling stuff online because we have, China, business in China,
Right.
things happen there. That's like people even go there more for business than all these other things. Yeah, foreigners. So I started business because people started asking me like, "Hey, Kat, can I sell this? Can you please provide me this? Can you? I'm like, oh, this is a good opportunity that I can grab. Actually, in the beginning, I didn't really concentrate on it because I was like, I'm still new. I need to monitor how everything works. I need to figure out everything first, and then blah 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 blah. So later on, I'm like, oh wow, this is good. This is great. This is good opportunity because so many people are asking me. So I'm going to use this opportunity to make even more money. So I
Right.
started, yeah. So I started selling hair from there. So I'll buy hair, and then people, they'll send me their monies, and then I'll ship it to them. Of course, my own benefit will be there. All of that group in my account. So that's how I started growing my income. I wasn't just teaching, I was teaching at school, on campus, I was tutoring at home, and I was doing my business online.
Right.
And I didn't need to displace myself to go to those stores to buy. No, I just needed to do everything online.
Right.
So my capital, the money that I had increased, and then I decided like, okay, I'm going to take this particular amount of money. I remember I started business that time. I started off with I'm like, I'll start with 500,000 SIFA, which is, how much is it in dollars? I said I'll
That's a
start with
thousand
that.
dollars. A
Yeah,
thousand dollars.
all right. I said I'll start with that amount, and then see how things progress. And mind you, there's really a lot of benefit in the business that I was doing. But
Right.
then I was only concentrated on selling hair only. So after my first year, like, and trust me, the school stressed me out so much that I was skinny like this. My brother came from the US visiting because his then fiance was in China. But though we were in different cities, so he went to our city, but he traveled from her city to mine to visit me. So when he came, I was so happy, like, oh my God, my brother, I've seen somebody that I know. Like, I was so happy, like I embraced him. He was so sad. He was like, why are you so skinny? Oh my God, what's happening? And then I told him, but I told you that I wasn't, things were hard here. You thought I was kidding. You thought I was just exaggerating. When I know how strong I am. So if I'm saying that something is hard, then you should take it into consideration. I didn't really say this to my parents because I didn't want to bother them. Parents, they will start worrying and all that. I didn't want that. But he did tell my parents. He did call my dad. He's like, oh my God, if you see your daughter, she's so skinny now, stressed out. I'm like, oh, you shouldn't have. You make them to worry. I'm okay, even though I'm stressed out, but it's fine. I'm handling it. It's going to be okay. He felt so bad for me that same moment we went to the house. When the principal saw that, oh, he was my brother and he came from far and everything, she gave me permission, like, it's okay, you can go. It was 4 p.m. already, and we usually close at 5:30. She left me. Yeah, she gave me the permission to go home without deductions. Like, because if you're not there even for 1 minute, there your money is sliced. And
Mm.
there's one thing I must precise one thing there, right? You if you take permission, like, okay, you're not going to be in school today, they would accept, but they'll still deduct your money for that day. They're like, well, you didn't work on that day, that's why we're deducting your money. And yes, you informed us that you're not going to be there. That's just being polite. So we make proper arrangements for somebody else to take your place for that day. But that doesn't mean
You have
that
to
you're not
pay
going to
them.
get deducted. Yeah.
Right.
So they still deduct regardless. So the only thing is like, and then I'm like, but what's the problem? What's the need telling you that I'm not going to be there if you deduct anyway? They're like, no, it's just for us to do proper planning. And yeah, so but that day was like, you're giving me this permission. I hope you're not gonna do it. She's like, no, it's fine. Let me go home. I'm like, okay. I went home with my brother. He just gave me $500 there. I'm like, he was so sorry. I'm like, hey, oh my God, thank you. I mean, I just who doesn't like money? I mean,
Yeah, right.
yeah, so we spoke and I told him everything that was going on, like, hey, blah blah blah, this is it. It hasn't been easy, but it's fine, I'm trying. And then he was so sad to hear how much I was earning there. And plus he was earning a lot in his company. He was like, oh my gosh, Kat. But anyway, it's okay. You're going to get better, and the school, you're going to leave the school. So his then fiance started putting pressure on me, like, leave the school, leave the school. It's not a good school. Go to somewhere else, or come and join me in my city where I work. She earned like in Sefa was like 1.2. Yeah. So
Right.
she was like, and then I told her, look, I won't do that because first off, I'm thinking about the school. Like, they hired me from Cameroon. I can't come here and I haven't even been here for 6 months or seven, and I want to leave, run away to another school. Because, first off, even though things are not really going the way I thought they would, I'm also thinking, like, I'm just grateful that they had to hire me from Cameroon because it wasn't easy. Usually they hire native speakers, and Cameroon is a non-native speaking country, so it's hard for them to hire non-native speakers, especially from Africa. Europe, again, you can do it, but from Africa it's even harder, because they're like, what English do we speak here?
Right.
They have this stereotype, like, and trust me,
Mm-hmm.
somehow, somewhere, they're not wrong, because yeah, so many people really speak just anyhow. Of course, it's not our first language. I mean,
Right.
whatever. So I'm like, first off, I'm happy, I'm grateful that they hired me from here. So I'm taking this as a plus. This is my own way to thank them for bringing me here. But then I'm not going to renew the contract. That's just what I plan on doing. Like, that's the least that I can do, right? So my
Mm-hmm.
brother and his wife, so his girlfriend, his then fiance, she kept putting pressure. And then I'm like, but wait, our situations are not even the same. If I leave from here, these people are going to cancel my visa
Revoke
because
your
they are the
visa.
ones with visa.
Mm.
And
Mm.
once they do that, I cannot do anything anymore. I become illegal there. Who wants to
Mm.
be illegal in a country that is not yours? Like, who wants to?
Right.
They can even lock you up, they repatriate you, things like that, bad things happening, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you're different because you have a student visa, but you're still, even though you're teaching, you have a student visa. And you know very well that if you get caught, you know what can happen. Because there's so many people that have been repatriated just because of that. It's that serious. So if the police catches her here, she'll run away, go to another city or maybe another campus, another school to teach. I'm like, yeah, you can always do that easily because that school doesn't offer you a visa. That visa, it's yours. It's your student visa from your university. Even though you're not going to school, you're instead
Mm-hmm.
teaching, and the university doesn't really. They're not when there has to be like a censorship, you run and go to on campus, so they don't really know that you're not there, you're not active in school. but so you have the ability to do whatever. Unlike me, I'm restricted. So she
Mhm.
didn't. She was like, it doesn't matter, blah blah blah. Just leave. I'm like, well, I'm also very stubborn sometimes. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I stayed there until my contract got finished. So they were like, okay, renewal. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to renew the contract. So they're asking me, hey, bring your passport. I'm like, no, why do you want to do my passport? My visa hadn't expired. My visa was going to expire in August, and school got finished like in June. So they're like, let me bring my visa so that they'll reduce it for the time being. Like, just give me 1 week for me to go home. Since I said I want to go home, because I couldn't even tell them that I wanted to go to another school. So I'm like, no, I'm not giving my visa. I turned around, and then of course they didn't give me release letters. They didn't give me because they're in China, to go to another, to leave from one job to another, you need release letters from that company. And if they don't give you this release letter, there's no way that they can give you a visa in that new company. That's just the policy. And many schools, many bad schools know that, and they know, and when they come across people that do not know their rights, or they're not native speakers and stuff like that, they take advantage of them. They really don't do this to native speakers, because they know that they can stand up and man up and everything, and yeah, they won't be able to. So they do this to people that they know that they're in a situation of like less privileged situation, I'll put it that way. Because
Yeah.
if I have to go to court, they'll be like, but you're a non-native speaker in the first place. Like, that's the first thing. And then secondly, you know, it's that bad, because then they used to, if you go to court with that, the Chinese, you really cannot win. They had each other's back so much, so that once you go there to court, if you're taking someone to court, if Chinese is taking you to, or you're taking a Chinese to court, know that he's winning. So, but now things have changed a lot, and I'm impressed. Like, foreigners are winning now, left and right, because there's so many Chinese lawyers that studied out there that have come back home, and they're working.
Right.
So they're working for foreigners. So they
Right.
take the case to court. There are so many foreigners are winning cases now, native or
Mhm.
non-native. But it wasn't the
Mhm.
case then. Yeah. So I they didn't give me this release letters, because, and it was okay for me. It was okay by me, because I actually wanted to go to school. I didn't want to teach anymore. You know, when you hate something with a passion, but you have to do it. Like, I had it up to here. I didn't want to teach anymore. It was so hard. I decided to go to school. I did this translation and interpretation. It wasn't easy either, but I pulled through. And just when I was about graduating, because it's a 2 year program, I started looking for jobs, so that by the time I graduate, I'll just start working again, like, so that I don't feel frustrated, or I don't get into a situation where my visa will expire and I'm illegal, stuff like that. So I started applying for jobs with the experience that I had, my first experience that I had, plus the one that I had here that I put in my CV before going to China. So I really just fixed it, and I had a couple of interviews here and there. And mind you, I had this one interview which I was taken. I was so happy, because I was like, wow. And then they said, you know what, as a student, we're not going to, students in this company, even though you're finishing and you're going to change your visa eventually to a working visa, but for now you have a student visa, and we cannot pay you money that we pay for workers. So all students in this company earn 1 million. I'm like, I mean, where was I? I had a working visa before, and I earned 700,000. And now here in the you guys are offering 1 million for students. And then what about
two
workers?
thousand
Like, wow.
dollars. Right.
Yeah, I was so happy. Like, wow, this is good. I accepted. So I was in between campus and the school, like So finally, I started working there and I managed to handle both of them. I finished from school and I started working there. But then I was working there clandestinely because I had a student visa. So they
Mm-hmm.
succeeded in doing my work visa from there. And I had to come back home and finish the process. So I came back home. I finished up everything, even though it took a longer time than I expected, like 2 months and a half. Then I went back with the work visa that this company gave me. So then I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, now that I have a working visa, re- readjust this contract now. Talk about it. Like, yeah, okay, as a worker and a new worker, like for your first year, we're going to that 1 million, we're going to add 300,000. And then every year we're going to add 100,000, every year at 100,000. That's how it works there. So I'm like, okay, it's fine, no problem. And then besides that, they take care of your house. Like, so the money that they give for the housing, it's not the accommodation, is not. So if you want like a luxury accommodation, like a very comfortable one, you need to add the money because they give just, for example, 100,000 francs according to that company. But other companies give you a whole house, like they provide you a very comfortable apartment already. Yeah, but that particular school, they offered you like 100,000 for you to add the money. Of course, they knew that it wasn't going to be okay. You're going to definitely increase the money if you want a nice apartment. But it was fine because even so, they had a really, the charges weren't heavy, right? Because my apartment, for example, my apartment that I lived alone, so I had like literally a studio type. I paid 200,000, and then electricity and water bills could sum up to maybe monthly plus phone bills, utility bills. Basically, it could sum up to like 50 to 100,000, maybe
So
maximum
all of
month.
your everything you were spending was around $600.
Yeah, it was like, yeah,
Yeah, and you were making
month.
about 2,000, two thousand
Yeah,
six hundred dollars a
yeah.
month.
And then, yeah, so imagine how my finances increased again. And
Mm-hmm.
I started doing business. So I was like, okay, this time around, I'm going to start business with 600,000 CFA.
That's $1,200.
Yeah, so decided that I was going to start like that. And then I did start, and I didn't even realize that this is how much money I got from the business. Because mind you, after like 6 months, when I come, because I had an account only for that business. I used to put, when I went there in 6 months, I had doubled the amount, plus like I had made like $1,200, 1,500, 1,500, no, not $500, like 1.5 million safer.
Three
So I had
thousand
doubled
dollars.
the amount. Yeah. So I was happy, like, wow, this is great. And mind you, there, I was in the best kindergarten. I was teaching in the best kindergarten in that city. So that kindergarten had just privileged kids. There was no exception because the fees weren't cheap. So it's if you hear that this kindergarten is the best and the most expensive in the city, then of course you know that only privileged kids will go there.
Right.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was so fun there. Not only was it a good kindergarten, I never, everything that I experienced in that other kindergarten was completely the opposite here. Even though this kindergarten was very, it was like the most expensive, but they were very relaxed, they were nice, they were, it was so sweet. I was like, oh my god, why didn't I fall on this kind of school when I first came? Like, I wouldn't even have changed my visa status. I wouldn't. I just fell on a really bad school. So it was really nice. Like, everything was going well. The parents, even though they're very wealthy, and then I had a remark because I was like, oh wow, these parents, average parents, are even the ones who are always very demanding and very
Picky.
strict and very
Yeah.
picky and very, oh, I don't want this teacher to teach my, oh, this black teacher. No, 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 no. Those parents, those privileged parents, never had this complex. I believe that it's also because they travel a lot, so
A
they meet a lot
lot.
of
They're
people.
exposed. Yeah.
They're exposed,
I
actually.
always
They're
say that
exposed.
every time I face racism, I say I feel sorry for that person who is racist towards me
Right,
because I just say
right.
you're not exposed. People who are
Yeah, you're
exposed,
not exposed.
accepting of
No,
everyone.
no,
Yeah.
exposed parents. Yeah, like
Yeah.
exposed parents don't, like those parents were very, I never felt for once like, oh, this is racist. I feel discriminated here. No, never. And mind you, that was a very bougie place. Like you would see only, though there I even learned there's so many things that I learned there. The names of cars, the name, because parents would come with their, I mean, Rolls Royce,
Bugattis
Maybachs.
and their Aston
What are you
Martins.
saying? Ah, yeah, yeah. It was so sweet, sis. Trust me. So I enjoyed. So finally, teaching was not something that I liked doing, but because of the place
The
where I
right
found myself,
environment. Right.
I started being
Loving
happy,
it.
like I started enjoying it.
Yeah.
And there was
Yeah.
less work there for more pay. And so it's more like you, I really can, if I start talking about it, I'll just really go out of place. Like it was really, it just to say that it was really nice. And there also had the opportunity because I had this pilot friend. Okay, I told you, since this campus was bougie parents, rich, very privileged parents and kids. So there was this parent who asked me to. She had a friend she had a friend was a pilot, an overseas captain. So she introduced me to this man because he was looking for a tutor for his kid. So even though they didn't know me, but the fact that I was a teacher in the most expensive kindergarten in the city, that spoke volumes, you know. So they came over to school one day after school. They picked me up, like took me to their home. He showed me like, hey, it did the introduction and everything. Like they want me to tutor the kid, and this is where they live. I know they're really simple people, yet so much money that they have. They were also from, actually, not like they're from America, but his wife was there with the kids because that's where they brought all their kids. And then he, as an overseas captain, he was always very mobile, so he couldn't be stable. So they had just come back and they wanted their kid to continue learning English, just like that other dad in that other school. So, but this time around, mind you, the price was double. When I asked my colleagues, like, "Hey, how much do you guys charge for tutoring a kid?" And they told me like, 30,000 CFA an hour." I'm like, okay. That's what I told that parent. And of course, they didn't even argue. They're like, okay, it's fine. We're going to add
60,000.
5,000 francs CFA for your transportation. So it'll be like 35,000 francs per hour. I'm like, okay, works. So sometimes I feel like in life, it's just like what they said, even in the Bible, like once you have, the more will
You
be
get
you.
more.
And once the little you have, even the little that you have will be taken away from you. That thing is so
Right.
true, sis. It's so true. Depending on where you find yourself, the milieu where you find yourself, you really make it. Or I made triple or four times the money that I made when I was there over there in that other school. You know, because I was exposed to privileged parents who were not racist, who were used to the outside world and who were okay. So this captain had his own colleague. That was another. He was like, "Oh, your daughter. I also want this," because they said good things about me. Like, "Wow, I'm really doing well with your daughter, and we're okay." Even though that this child was naughty sometimes, and all these spoiled kids, like, but it was okay. I mean, the parents were very nice. I'm like, okay, this is just a child. It's fine. She was 3, 4. And so this other parent, he introduced me to his colleague, who was also a captain. He had his own daughter. And I started tutoring his daughter as well because I tutored this child 3 times a week. So I started tutoring his own daughter as well, and it was the same amount of money, everything the same. So imagine, so my whole week, he mentioned weekends, like, oh, he wants me to teach his daughter for three times a week. And I said, unfortunately, I have just tried 2 times left because the other family is already taken 3 times, and I don't want to work over the weekends because I really want to use the weekends to really do my own stuff and rest, because at the end of the day I also need rest. I can't just, I mean, I work so hard during the week, so at the end of the day, and plus weekends, when I mean rest, I'm not even really resting because I have my business to handle. All the commands and everything, I need to sort them out because during the week I really don't have time for all of that. So I
So
told him no.
how long did you work with for this school? And I know that you're no longer in China, you're in Cameroon at the moment.
Yeah.
So is it from this school that you actually achieved your financial freedom?
Right, right, right. Perfect. It's from the school. So this is like the last school that I worked with. Actually, it was just unfortunate because even though I had planned on moving out of China, I hadn't planned on moving out abruptly like that, the way I did. So due to COVID, because I came back home on holidays, and unfortunately they closed borders and everything for 2 years plus. I mean, you
Yeah,
remember the last time all of those
right,
hurdles, like, yeah. So
right.
yeah, I left there abruptly, but even so, I was already stable financially. Like, I achieved financial freedom, and I was even going to achieve more if I had stayed longer. But it's okay. I
Mm,
just always feel like everything that God does is good, and
it's
every
good.
opportunity you turn every, like, when life gives you lemons, you turn them, you make lemonade, things like that.
Yeah,
So yeah,
right,
even so, I've had like misfortune there, but I've had advantages elsewhere, like a lot. Yeah.
right.
So I got
I mean, you're on your way to getting your DBA, more
yeah,
money in the pipeline.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
so
mean,
many
yeah,
things involved, like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so
So
many positive
what
things as
advice
well.
would you, yeah, what advice would you give a young woman who is 23? So five things you would say to a young woman who is 23 on how to achieve her financial freedom, irrespective of where she is. What are the five things you
Okay.
say to her?
So first off, the very, very first thing that I would say is to believe in yourself. Believe in your abilities to achieve anything that you want to achieve, regardless of where you are. That's it. That's really like the first thing. Self confidence matters a lot. If you have self confidence that you can do something, you always do it. You always pull through at the end of the day. And then another thing is, you need to know that you can always start from anywhere, because there's so many people that have this tendency of like, if you're not overseas, you cannot make it. That's not true. Even here in Africa, in Cameroon, you can make it if you have that willpower, if you believe in yourself, you're self confident, you're hardworking, because it's not only about working hard, it's also working smart. You can make it. You can make it. You can totally make it. There's so many things. Like, there's one story that I read from your blog, one of your stories, about a little girl that started this poultry business, and I was very
Right.
impressed. Yeah, this little girl. So that's why I was like, but this little girl, in the next 1 year or 2 years, she will be
Yeah,
fired if
she
she
would have made a
continues like
million.
this.
Yeah, she would have been a millionaire in
She will
France, I
be
think.
fired
Yes.
if she continues like
Yeah.
this. And where is she? She's in Cameroon. So
Yeah.
it's not always about where you are. If you have that willpower, if you work hard, smart, you get there. Like, it's true that there's some things that it's not always easy. It's not always easy to make money here. But once you've started, you just go. You just finish. You pull through. Once you start, you pull through, because trust me, there's money in Cameroon. There
A
is.
lot. A lot
There
of it.
is. People think that there's money in Cameroon.
A
You just
lot of
really
it.
need to exploit, like, the different places. Yeah, you need to, if you try this one and it doesn't work after a long time, of course there's always something called perseverance. You need to persevere as well, because you wouldn't just plant and harvest on the same day. You need to nurture and everything, and at the end of the day you see how it happens. And if at the end of the day it still doesn't work out, because sometimes you might nurture and everything and still doesn't work, you change paths. There are always so many things. You are not stuck in one particular thing after you've tried for a very long time. You can always change it and go to and do something else, you know.
Mm.
So I'm like, at 23, you're even still very young to build up yourself, to be more confident, to strive for this financial independence that we women are looking for. At 23, you're not so small or young to see how the world is, and to see how important it is to be financially stable as a woman, even, you know, because with your stability, like financial stability, you even have the respect that you, even from people that you never imagined that were going to give you the respect, you have it. You know, I always tell you this, like, you have it from your partner, from your parents, from your friends, your siblings, everyone, acquaintances. You have that respect because they're like, no, this woman, in as much as she's young, she knows what she wants. She's striving for it. She's hardworking. She's smart. And people are looking up to you. I'll tell you the truth. Says that, I'm like, I'm always in admiration of you. Like, wow, when I get your story, like, this is how you started off, like after your dad passed at 16. Yeah, the monies that you were handling at that age, and all the stress that had to go with it, with all the problems that went through, and then you still pull through, and you're able to even talk today to women and be and inspire young girls and be a business coach. That's so, it's awesome. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh wow, you're an author, how far can you, what's there that you cannot do? There's nothing.
Right.
Today I'm
Right.
hearing like, oh, you need to involve in this business and you think it's lucrative. Tomorrow I'm like, hey sis, so you want to do everything? Like, your hobby always says, like, if they don't hold you, you're going to give birth to mukala. Like,
Ebukala
hey.
na who
So
to
I'm
be.
like, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's very impressive because you don't have a limit. You're just forging
Yeah.
ahead.
I'm an
And
eagle.
trust me, there are some people that don't know you personally, but they just know you like a business coach and everything. They are very inspired by your journey because you speak it out and everything. So many people, even if they're not saying it, even if you don't see all the views that people, all these influencers that I was talking about, men and everything have, people are watching. And one ear or one eye that sees narrates to another. That's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
One ear to another, just like that. And very soon, before you know it, boom. Who inspired you? Sil Tamanda. Who inspired you? Sil Tamanda. That's great. That's your purpose, right? It's
Yep.
wonderful. That's your purpose, at the same time making money, being more financially stable and impacting others to do same, to be same, And
Right.
it's very encouraging. It is. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh wow, this is really my sister. Like, wow, this person right here is my sister. I know
Right.
her. I'm not. It's not a stranger, and I feel so proud.
Right.
Yeah, I do.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I do. And
Thank you,
sometimes I'm
sis.
just like, yeah, I know that I can. I might not have your force. I might not have all of that, but I learn a lot from you, even if I don't always say it. Like, I learn a lot, and it's very important to me. And I believe that so many people do same, even if they don't always say it. Like I said, once you're
Right.
able to impact it, once you're able to speak up, people listen, even if and they put it into practice. And then very soon you will hear they'll start saying it, like, hey, look, do you know that you inspired me to do this? Do you know that it's thanks to you that I did this? Blah blah blah. And it's
Right.
really encouraging. It is,
Right.
honestly. those 23-year-old girls that are trying to, or young girls as a whole that are trying to make it, they should just forge ahead. There's no time to wait. Like, there's no perfect time. You start now. You can always go later. You can always get there even before you know it. You start now. And anyone who is very hardworking and working smart, there's always a reward for that person. That's one thing I know for sure. Once you're hardworking and you're working smart, there's no way that you cannot have. It's not possible. Our God is just. He gives it. If you deserve it, He will give it to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
He even said it. Yeah, we have to toil to feed and to do this. If you toil, you're gonna get it. That's the truth. If
Right.
you toil, you're gonna get it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, no,
So
I agree.
I'm really
I
so,
agree.
young girls. I mean, and I'm really happy because trust me, when I look at the society, like my surroundings, I see that a lot of things have changed. Like the way we used to think before, it's no longer the way we think now. It's really that now women now have a good place in the society as well. Women are no longer regarded as, nobody, as trash, as blah blah blah, as they were regarded before. Now,
Mm-hmm.
right now, women have an important role in society, and we have a lot of women to look up to, a lot of women that inspire us, a lot of women that, so young girls nowadays, I see them struggling to be independent financially. I'm impressed. I'm like, wow. Back in our days, like the 23-year-olds, 20, we just wanted to party and have fun and be happy. That's really what we wanted to do, you know, and expecting that, okay, later on in life, we're going to make it when the time comes. Meanwhile, we forget to know that there's no particular time, there's no perfect time. You
I
start
mean, the
now.
sooner we
So
start, the better, isn't it?
the
The
sooner
sooner
we
we
start,
start,
the
the
better.
sooner we can
Yeah,
retire. Yeah.
exactly. At 30,
Yeah.
you see yourself being like a serious CEO of something or a serious entrepreneur. I mean, you're like, is this you yourself? You're so proud of your own self, and I can bet when you look at yourself in the mirror, and like, wow, I'm proud of you still. You know,
Yeah.
you say
Yeah.
it to yourself like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
this is how far I've gone. I can't believe this. I'm proud of myself. Still, I'm proud of
Right.
the woman that you've become. When I look at you years ago and I look at you today, I mean, I can, it just pushes you to go even further, you know?
Right.
So I
Right.
believe that, yeah, I believe that now a lot of things have changed, and women, young girls, they're trying to be financially independent. They're trying to, yeah, so they're doing businesses here and there. Like in Cameroon, for example, there's so many young girls. In as much as social media shows us so many wayward girls and girls who are sh- being naked, or men or things like that, there's so many girls that are very hardworking. They're doing business. They're trying to make ends meet. They're trying to get little financial independence here and there. Yeah, there's so many of them here. Just that those people, social media doesn't talk about them. We don't like those sort of people. We like people
Yeah.
that,
It doesn't make the
yeah,
news. Exactly. We like
financially strong.
negativity.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we like negativity.
Yeah.
Literally, that
I was actually listening to a podcast
negativity
and
is what boosts us more. So
yeah, no, I was listening to a podcast and actually that's what the social media algorithms, that's what they do. They push the negative news and they subside the positive ones because they want people
right.
to, according to science, the human being reacts better to negativity than to positivity.
Exactly. And that's the
Yeah,
truth.
so
Right.
the algorithms push negativity to keep people on their platforms, and the longer we stay on their platforms, the more they make money,
Make money.
uh,
Right.
and the more they destroy us because negative energy only produces the poor
Yeah.
enzymes,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
the bad enzymes that make us sick, that make us stressed, that make us uh, 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 upset, and because we're upset, how can you be productive when you're not
Yeah.
in
Right. I
your best
mean, you're
best
even
state
a
of
bitter
mind?
person. You become a bitter
Exactly.
person. You become. yeah, you're full of hate. You
Exactly.
always feel like people
Exactly.
always
Exactly.
looking for negative things in people, not
Right.
looking at the
Right.
positive side, right? So,
Right. Right. So we have to be aware of that. I mean, we've had an amazing chat, nearly 2 hours.
oh yeah, right. Oh, I didn't even see the time. Oh, right. It's
Yeah,
nearly
it's been
2 years.
amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, just listening to your journey from your childhood to how strong you were as a child, mentally, and emotionally, and how important those two attributes have taken you all the way to where you are. I mean, you're still very young. You've attained your financial freedom. You can decide to do what you want to do, eat what you want to eat, be where you want to be
Of
with whom you want
course.
to
I
be,
mean, that
live where you
satisfies
want to
me.
live.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's something that is more beyond powerful, and I hope that those who are listening to you today will be able to learn from your story. They will be inspired by your story. Like,
Yeah.
you
I
have
hope
to,
so.
like you said, confidence. You have to be confident. You have to know what you want, and you have to go for it. Look
Yeah.
for your role models, emulate from them, learn from them, and also just do everything within your powers to put in the work, because all you can do is all that you can do, and all you can do is enough. But make sure,
Right.
absolutely make sure that you do all that you can do.
Exactly. That's
Yes.
actually the thing. And
Yeah.
once you're that person, you always attract those kind of people towards you.
Right.
If and no matter the kind of person, you cannot be this hardworking, smart person, positive person, and you attract the opposite. It's not possible. Even though they
Mm.
usually say that opposites attract, it's not true in this context. No.
Yeah. No, they say
The
when
kind
the
of
student is
person,
ready, the teacher appears.
yeah, the kind of people that you attract to yourself, even your partner, your friends. I mean, they will
Mentors. Yeah.
reflect you, your mentors, they will reflect the kind of person, yeah, that you
That you
are.
are. Yeah.
And it's
Where your
very
head
important.
space. Right.
Yeah. It's important. I mean, it's important. Yeah, it's true that, yeah, we won't also try to say that no, we should just always look at. It's true that from time to time there's this we diversify our thoughts, like we look at Congo Star online here and there and laugh and chat over it. But that's not something that you need to concentrate on. That's just something that you need to see in passing, and you're like, okay, it's fine. Now back to business. So you don't use all of your time on that, and then a little bit of the time on something that will be productive
Productive.
for you.
Yeah.
It's not okay. Like, then you're
Right.
not going to make it. Like, yeah.
Mm.
And I'm
Mm.
very happy because I've had this podcast, and I'm happy because when I think about this journey so far, I'm still like, wow, all of these things that I said, it's something that I didn't even really remember. Like, so while talking, everything was just coming back to my, I'm like, oh wow, I've really had a journey. And
Right.
it's very, yeah, and I haven't even reached halfway. I'm still getting there, but so far I'm proud of myself, and
You have
yeah,
to.
I'm going to get there by God's grace. And even the partner that I have, my husband, he couldn't be more proud. Like, he might not tell me all the time, but I know that, yeah, he is. And same for me. So that's the kind of person that I've attracted, and same for
Mm-hmm.
him, vice versa. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
attract somebody lesser.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say these things attract the kind of person that you are attracts, yeah, the different people towards you as well. So yeah, I
Right.
mean, it has been
Right.
very positive, and yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much, Sis. Really, I've had a amazing chat with you. Just listening to your story, your resilience, your determination, and the fact that you achieve. I mean, when you have financial freedom, yeah, you're like on top of the world. Nobody
I
can
mean,
tell
you
you
remember we
not.
always talk about this. We always talked about this in Egypt, like in your
Yeah,
kitchen, like, hey,
yeah. Nobody can tell you nothing.
you know
So
who
proud of
it
you.
is.
You should be proud of yourself. And of course, hobby has to be proud of you, because when
Right.
you have a solid woman by your side, your
Oh,
family is
sure.
only going to get better. You don't want a woman
I
who
always
is,
tell you, you remember I
mm,
always mention it to you, like, I can
yeah,
imagine how your hubby is proud of you. Like, wow, this my
Yeah.
woman, who would say what to her? Like, who can
Right.
dissuade me away from her? This is somebody
Right.
that I know that if I close my eyes today, I can totally count on her. If I'm down
Right.
today, I can totally count on her. I always
Right.
felt proud in his space. While I was
Yeah.
there with you guys, I always put myself in his space. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you, woman. Like,
Yeah.
and then I can imagine him who is in the show in himself, how he feels. So,
Right.
I mean, it's
Right.
very important to have a powerful woman by your
No,
side.
it is. It is. It is for you, for your family, for the
Yeah,
people that you love and care
yeah,
about. It is
it's
absolutely
important.
important.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sis. Thank you
Thank
all
you
so much
too
for
so
listening.
much for having
If,
me.
if
See,
you've
like,
listened until the end, congratulations for listening for 2 hours. I know. Maybe you paused, you came back
yeah.
to listen
Oh
to the
wow.
gist. Congratulations for listening.
Well, if you're somebody who likes this, I hope that you really liked it because I mean there were stories in between, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
lots of storytelling. And that's how I want this podcast to be. I want
Yeah.
it to be relaxed. I want it to be storytelling
Yeah.
time where women can just listen at their own pace, at their own time, and just really hear about how other women are doing it, how they're faring, how they achieved what they did achieve, what it feels like to achieve those things, so that you can aspire to. Before it's always impossible until it's done. And if you hear that other people are
Yeah.
doing it, you will most likely feel like, okay, I mean, they're human beings, I'm a child of God, they're a child of God. If you're not a believer, that's all right. But if someone else can do it, you can tap into their strength, you can tap into their
You're
belief
right.
and achieve it for yourself. Thank you so much for listening. If you did like it, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, share, comment, and we will see you in the next episode of the Ticket to Freedom Academy podcast. Thank you so much, sis. Thank you.
Thank you, sis. Thank you very much for having me. I couldn't be more proud of you, more happy. I mean, I hope to be here another time to say even more because guess what? I have so many stories to tell. I have so many things to share with the world. And as much as I haven't lived life to the fullest yet because of my age, but the little that I've lived, I have a lot of stories to tell. So you guys are definitely going to see me here again sometime.
Yes, we will
Not
see you. We're
sometime.
looking forward to
Next
some
week.
news about your DBA so
Yeah.
you can come and
Oh,
tell
oh
others how
yeah.
they can
Hey.
actually, other women, perhaps tell other women how to get their DBA as well. And tell
Yeah,
me, I want to
right.
learn. Yes, I was looking for where I'm always following the money.
Yeah, I mean there's so many things that I still have to say, and because of time I won't say them here. So in the next podcast, God willing, I definitely will. So
Super. We'll be
thank
we'll
you
be
very
looking
much,
forward. We'll
sis.
be looking forward to that episode. Thank you guys. Take care. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.